Hey, what's up everyone? Hold on a minute there, I gotta fix something real quick. Yeah, I think I'm successfully flying as far under the radar now as Sum 41's last album did. What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time to talk about the new studio album, the comeback album, don't call it a Sumback, by Sum 41, a Canadian pop-punk, alternative rock, hard rock band that have been consistently putting out material since their debut in 2001. Now this does mark the biggest gap in between releases for the band. This new one is called 13 Voices, and it got announced back in June. Now, I actually signed up on Pledge Music over a year ago, I think it was, or right around a year ago, to support these guys, to come back and make a new record, and it's actually getting shipped to the wrong address, the CD that I ordered. I just realized that, and I'm really hoping the US mail will forward that to my new one. It's been a hell of a past few years for the lead singer of this band. Derek had a very dark struggle with alcohol. It nearly killed him. I did a video on it a couple of years ago whenever he was going through that, and it just really hurt me to see someone that I looked up to so much as a child just going through this and seeing them at their lowest of lows. But sometimes it really is true. You have to hit rock bottom before you can rise again. And that's why I love listening to songs like War on this record, because as Derek said himself, this is the song that saved him. It saved Sum 41, and it inspired him to keep plowing forward even on the hardest of days. And it sounds cliche to say some of the things that he does on this record. Some of the lines are going to come off cheesy, but keep in mind that this man was literally probably days and drinks away from death, and you're knocking at heaven's door or hell's door, whatever you believe in, at that door, and you see death staring you in the face. Maybe you come back and write some lines that you've heard before, you've heard other people say them, but it doesn't mean it's not true for him. I really am enjoying this record. There's parts of it that just don't work, there's some tracks that I skip over, and there's moments that I don't think I'm gonna come back to as much as others, but all in all, this is a solid comeback album, and it is a long shot away from just a band that is a flame of its former, just full-on raging fire. It's not like that at all. I don't think these are guys that need to call it quits. They need to retire. Sum 41 clearly still has a fire lit deep inside of them, and I think that this is kind of a reignition for Derek here. And obviously with Brown Sound alongside Brown Toms, Frank Zummo, the new drummer, and Cone, all being together as a five-piece in this band, they're standing taller than ever, and it's nice to see Derek healthy again. He's had trouble with his back in the past, obviously his kidneys, alcohol was killing him, and it's just nice to see them back playing Warped Tour, going out on their own. Don't call it a Sumback tour. I wish that I could see them this fall, but they're not coming anywhere near me. But they're playing with passion, and there's a vigor behind the music, and not every song comes off as super important like I said, but the ones that really do hit, they strike for a reason. As far as how this album sounds, I definitely see there being some heavier tendencies on this thing. I like that they kind of brought back some of the heavier elements that I've seen on albums like Screaming Bloody Murder, even elements of Chuck as well, some of my favorite projects from them, not as a whole necessarily with Screaming Bloody Murder. That was a very overlooked project. I feel like people negatively received it just because it just wasn't expected for Sum 41, I suppose, and it was a bit of a mixed bag. There were some songs that just flat out sucked, like Baby You Don't Wanna Know, and a few others that I just didn't care for. They weren't my cup of tea. But with 13 Voices, I do feel like the band has taken more of a clear and concise route. It seems like they know exactly what they want to do with relaying some of the messages here. There's a lot of anthems on the album, and while some of them do, like I said, feel a little bit cliche, some people are gonna notice that right off the bat. The lyrics on this thing definitely at times feel like a collection of things that you would say at a motivational speech, and I understand why that might not work for some, but for me, it's not something that I focus on as much. It's not one of those bands that I listen to really for the lyrical content, and I know that's a weird thing to say because you're like, John, what else are you gonna focus on? Well, the music here often outweighs the lyrical content. Not that it's not important, it's just that if it's passable or solid enough, you're gonna be finding yourself lost in the music, and I do feel like Brown Sound and of course Tom Thacker, Brown Tom, do a great job on co-lead guitars and the co-rhythm guitars here. It just sounds like something that is a blast of energy that has been missing from Sum 41 for quite some time now, something that didn't quite connect, and now that we have their original guitarist back in the lineup, we're getting that new life. And even the drumming on this record is impeccable at points. I mean, on some of these tracks, I feel like it really drives it home. Fake My Own Death, the first song that we got from this record, absolutely phenomenal. Love that one, just a thrashing track. And then towards the end of this, The Fall and the Rise, probably my favorite song on 13 Voices. This is one that is absolutely furious on the drums. I love the guitars on that one as well, and Derek really gets worked up on the vocals. It kind of has like a sinister feel to it. It's building up, and then the payoff is immense and very rewarding. It reminds me of the latest Green Day record, Revolution Radio, in the sense that it has many tracks that just kind of build up and they're like teasing, and then they finally pay off, and that does get a little bit irritating after a while. I complained about it slightly on the Green Day record, and I feel like perhaps it's maybe even a little bit more relevant here and becomes more of a problem because the payoff isn't always as great. And I don't like to stack albums against each other and compare them. It's just something that I noticed there, and I'm like, wow, it's two records that actually have the same release date that are doing very similar things in that regard. Not that they sound alike, but they have that kind of build and release momentum theory that they're trying to build off of. And I noticed that right off the bat with A Murder of Crows. The opening song, it builds and builds and builds and finally gets there. I do like that it finally gets there, and there's a good payoff. I enjoy the second half of this track. It's a good start to this record, but I'm just thinking, it took a bit long to get to that point. But all is forgiven by the time we get to track number 2. Goddamn, I'm Dead Again. This is a fantastic, kind of sarcastic, witty tune that features some of the best guitar work that I've seen from Sum 41 in quite some time. In fact, it does remind me, especially in that second solo, a lot of Hotel California by the Eagles. In fact, it's to the point where I'm wondering if they've paid for the rights to sample it. I seriously love this song. I love how aggressive it gets during its verses. The verses probably being my favorite part of the track, and of course the chorus really attacks as well, goes in. The guitar work is fantastic, and of course the first little breakdown is just an absolute jam. I love that, one of my favorite moments on the record, but it's hard to deny that second guitar solo there just really being very blatant in terms of the Hotel California's style. It's just like you can't listen to those two side by side and say that they don't sound similar. That's the first thing I noticed whenever I heard the song. I was like, this sounds like something. And then finally I played it over and over in my head, and I was like, Hotel California. Doesn't change the fact that I love the song. I'm just saying I'm noting the similarities there. While we're on the subject of similarities and songs that I do like on this record, God Save Us All, Death to Pop, yeah, it's a combination of Throne by Bring Me the Horizon and The Catalyst by Linkin Park. It's so easy to see, especially in those opening synthesizers. I mean, come on, it's pretty obvious here. I mean, I still enjoy the tune, but it's clear also where they got their inspiration from. There's no shame in that. I don't feel like it's a blatant copy of it. It's just, once again, I'm like, Sum 41, are we lacking a little bit of originality here? And I do say that as a problem that kind of plagues this record. It doesn't bring down the total enjoyment factor for me, but still, it's just like I'm listening through and I'm hearing other bands. There's plenty of songs that do stand out on their own for definitely just being Sum 41, but it is pretty apparent that they listen to some other styles of music while they were preparing for this album. The title track is fantastic. I love the guitar and just kind of the darker, sleeker feel of that tune. And Twisted by Design, the one that this album goes out on, at least for the standard edition of the record. That's another one that I really see, even though it's a little bit longer, it definitely doesn't drag its feet. It's just kind of a slow-lit fuse, one of those slow-burning tunes that really actually packs a punch. But unfortunately, there are moments here that I don't care for as much. I mean, right in the middle of this record, I start seeing it get bogged down with tunes that I don't care for that much. Maybe I've played Fake My Own Death a few too many times, but that one's getting a little bit old to me at this point. And then Breaking the Chain, just one that is very kind of monotonous, kind of off the wall. I can't get it out of my head. I'm shaking my head. I'm like wanting it to leave my head, but it's not getting out of there. And then There Will Be Blood, possibly the most annoying Sum 41 song I've heard to date. Unfortunately, the vocals on that one, the guitars, just the song structure in general, it's just a no from me. There's definitely some great songs to check out on this record, but unfortunately there's problems, like I said, that weigh it down a bit as well. I'd recommend checking out some of the tracks that I listed in my favorites. Of course, my least favorites are in the description as well, along with more information about the record. Sum 41's new album, 13 Voices, is getting a 3.5 out of 5 from me. If you've heard the new Sum 41 album, let me know your thoughts on it in the comments section down below, along with checking out the most recent review that I did on this channel, that little annotation directly below me, and you can see another Sum 41 review that I've done in the past. Thanks for watching my review of 13 Voices. If you would like to see more, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because friends don't let friends go unsubscribed, and hit that like button while you're here as well. Thanks for watching my review today of the new Sum 41 album, 13 Voices. Other than that, I will see you guys very soon right here on ARTV.